Hello, my friends. I hope all of you are having a great Friday. Today, our lesson is a little bit different from the others before. On previous lessons, we have worked with basically intermediate English, intermediate, a little bit of advanced English. And today, we're going to be working with beginner. So today is a lesson for those who consider or know that your level is beginner. Because remember, knowing your level is very important. Like what is your level? Is it beginner? Is it pre-intermediate? Is it intermediate? Is it advanced? You need to know that in order to, number one, expose yourself to the language in the right way. Okay, like that's the number one step. Um, when you know your level, you know what kind of videos watch, you know what kind of audios listen to, you know what kind of text read, you know what kind of vocabulary you need to practice with. So that is the very first step. And number two, and very very important as well, is the fact that you need to practice the vocabulary in a context. That is something that most people don't do. They think that they will learn vocabulary by just reading a list of words, and that doesn't work well. You don't learn vocabulary when you're reading long lists of words. You're just wasting your time. And in the end, you're not gonna remember them. You are not gonna remember those words. You need to put them into some context. Um, and keep in mind that the more vocabulary you know, the easier for you is to communicate in a language. So the vocabulary is the building, the vocabulary is the foundation. It's like the baseline. The most important thing is the vocabulary. Always, 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 always. The more words you know, the better pronunciation you have of those words, the easier for you is going to communicate. It's a very common situation that my students have. Like, hey, I understand a lot of English. I understand you. I understand Eric. But when I want to say something, I can't find the words. Well, basically, you don't have enough vocabulary. You don't have enough vocabulary. So remember, practicing with the right or adequate input, the one according to your level, beginner, pre-intermediate, intermediate, or advanced, and learning vocabulary. But learning vocabulary from a context. Okay? So let's get it on. Let's practice. Let's practice. Let's have fun, my friends. Remember, this lesson is for beginners, but if you are a pre-intermediate, or you have an intermediate level, or you say, hey, my level is advanced, you can practice with this too. Of course, any practice is good practice. So if you say, hey, this is not for me, you can practice with this even though you think you know a lot. Very well. So you know the drill, my friends. We're gonna check this text. It has a three-part text about New York and planning your trip to New York with some tips, with some really good tips. Mm, you know what to do. I am going to read a part, a section of this text. Then I'm gonna pause, and then it's going to be your turn to repeat. to just repeat the same part that you just heard. Okay? Without further ado, let's get it on. Here we go. Plan your trip to New York with these top tips. There you go. Fantastic. And remember, this is demonstrative, okay? And the real difference between the pronunciation of these two is pretty simple. Uh, the first one that's in the chat is this. Like, this is my father. This is my girlfriend. This is my best friend. This. And this one, the one on the text, the second one in the chat is these. These. It's like our natural sound in Spanish. These. And it's long. Remember that. So with these top tips. Okay, let's start with the tips. What are the top tips when you plan your trip to New York City? Number one, go to Rockefeller Center. It's cheap, and from the top floor, you can see Central Park, the Empire State Building, and more. Go ahead. Very well. Very well. What is the opposite of cheap? What is the opposite of cheap? Do you know? Uh-huh. Expensive. Expensive. Like, cheap is, I don't know. When a meal, when you go to a restaurant, you say, hey, that was cheap. It's like $2 or $3. And when you go, yes, Adriana, very well. Or when you go to a restaurant and you say, hey, that meal, that dinner was expensive, 150 bucks. You're like, oh, wow, that was expensive. Okay, dollars, you can say bucks, and it's the same. Bucks with an S, sorry. So dollars and bucks are the same. This box, you say box, and it's more real, like more mm, real speakers don't say dollars. There's a box. Hey, how much was the jacket? It was 100 bucks. It's expensive, but I got the money, so I bought it. Very well, very well, very well, my friends. And of course, when you're practicing, when you're reading out loud means that you can hear your voice out loud. And that's a very important piece of your practice, is the fact that you need to read out loud. When you're reading out loud, try to put the words together. Like in this part, it's cheap. And from the top floor, you can see Central Park. You see, you're connecting the words. That's a very important aspect. So it, it's it's not easy. Of course, it is not. But you need to focus on that. So when the time you are talking, you can do that. You can just connect the words, and that will make you sound more natural, more real when you talk in English. Okay, let's finish the first tip. Please repeat after me. Remember to take your camera. There you go. There you go. Solid pronunciation, my friends. You're doing great. Remember, if you have any question, just go ahead and write them in the chat. I'm reading all the chats, the Instagram chat, the YouTube chat. We're not in Facebook. We're just in Instagram and in YouTube. Whatever question that you may have, write it down, and I will answer it to you, my friends. Let's check the second tip. Tip number 2. Buy your tickets from the Statue of Liberty online. Go ahead. I want to hear you. Okay, yes. Watch out with the pronunciation of this one. A statue. Okay, one more time. Statue. Okay, here we go. The Statue of Liberty is an American icon, but there are always long lines for tickets. Your turn. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What would you say is the opposite of long? What is the opposite of long? What is it? Maybe Adriana can help me? Short. Yes, Adriana. Very well. Very well. Absolutely. That is the opposite. Short. Long and short. And this exercise is really good. That's a very good way to learn vocabulary. When you have adjectives and you just think about the opposite and you learn the opposite. That's a really good way in order to increase your vocabulary. All right. All right. All right. And let's finish the second tip. Buy them on the internet before you go. Go ahead. Easy peasy, right? Easy peasy, Japanesey, my friends. Okay. Next tip. Hey, have you ever been to New York City? Write in the chat. Write in the chat if you have ever been to New York City. Explore the city on foot. Don't rent a car in New York City. Go ahead. Okay. Yeah. You see, this sentence is in present simple. You just say, don't rent a car. You see the negative? You're just saying that don't do that. It's like when you have little kids and you're taking care of them and they are doing something dangerous. What you're going to say is, hey, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Or like in this case, you're giving that advice. Don't rent a car. Always with a verb. Always with a verb. Absolutely. Yeah, Paula, she has been to New York City. Of course, you have been all over the place, Paula. You have been in Australia, you have been all over the place. That's a very interesting expression. Let me write it down for you. When you have been all over the place, it means that you have visited a lot of countries. You have been in many, many places. Like, oh, yeah, I've been all over the place. Okay, keep that in mind. Okay, let's move on. The best thing is to walk, but good shoes are very important. Your turn, my friends. Okay, okay. Keep in mind the pronunciation of this word. It's very important to say it correctly. Repeat after me. Walk. One more time. Walk. Yeah. You don't pronounce this L. The L is silent. Another example is talk. To talk. When you're talking, the L, no sound. All right. Let's move on. Let's continue. Slow down and listen to the city. Sit on the grass in Central Park on a sunny day. Go ahead. Good pronunciation. Now, this is a very interesting phrasal verb. And remember, when you are learning English, it doesn't matter what level are you. You can be advanced, intermediate, beginner, you need to learn phrasal verbs because when you're talking and you communicate using phrasal verbs, it means that you speak naturally. So definitely that's going to help you. That's going to help you. And you can start from day one. From the very first day you are practicing and learning English, learn phrasal verbs. And this is a great example of a simple phrasal verb. When you slow down, it means that you're going to relax. Okay, maybe you're having a busy day and you go really fast. You're doing 100 things at the same time. You're taking calls and you're sending emails, and then your loved one, your significant other, your boyfriend, your girlfriend comes with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and says, "Hey, baby, slow down, relax, and enjoy this cup of coffee." And you slow down. You're okay, okay. I need to just stop for a moment. That is the meaning of to slow down. And this is a great sentence to slow down and listen to the city. You see, like, hey, yeah, New York City is busy. There's a lot of traffic and a lot of things going on. But if you go to Central Park, you can just relax and listen to the city. All right. Do you know what's the meaning of grass? What is grass? Does anybody know what is the grass? Or give me a synonym, or what color is the grass? Even better. What color is the grass? Adriana, maybe you can help me with this one too. What color is the grass? Well, my friends, the grass is green, just like in this picture right here. It is green. Um, let's finish this tip. But if you are tired, take a bus or the subway. Your turn. Okay. Thank you, Adriana. Yes, I have a little bit of delay. So when I see the comments is different when I ask the questions. Um, keep in mind the pronunciation of this word. Okay. Please repeat after me. Tired. Mm-hmm. Yes, when you're tired, you're exhausted. You're like, oh, it's been a long day. I need to slow down and I need to relax and rest. All right. Many of us, it's Friday night and we are tired. There's no time to party. You just want to sit down or lay down, turn on the TV and do nothing because we are tired. Remember the pronunciation. Next tip, visit Coney Island. Read that part, please. Hmm. Check out the pronunciation of this island. Yes, just like with listen or walk or talk, you have some silent letters. And this is a great example. Like you don't pronounce the S with this word. Repeat after me one more time. Island. There you go. There you go. There you go. Listen and then repeat. Go to Coney Island by subway, an hour, and have a delicious New York hot dog. Your turn. Very well. Very well. Okay. Okay. Remember, when you're talking about food, it's very common to say have, to use the verb have with whatever food you're talking about. Like, hey, uh, tonight I want to have some pizza because it's Friday, or I want to have a hamburger. You see, have and then the food that you're talking about. That's natural. That's real English. And this is a great example. And have a delicious New York hot dog. Be careful with the pronunciation of hot. Okay? Repeat after me, class. Hot. Yeah. Yeah, that's the real pronunciation for hot. And yeah, well, it's a hot dog. Mm, let's continue. If it's hot, go for a swim in the Atlantic. Go ahead. Yes. Remember, this if is a conditional. It's a condition. Like when you say, if you practice English in the right way, you will speak in short time. It's a condition. It's a condition. Mm, something that I want to say about hot is that you can use hot not only to talk about hot dogs or the weather, like, oh, it's very hot in here. I need to drink some water. It's very hot. You can use hot when you're talking about people. Hmm. Yeah. And when it's a very, very handsome guy or a very, very pretty girl, like really pretty or really handsome, you say, hey, he's hot or she's hot. Think about, I don't know, think about the 90s, Jennifer Aniston. She was a very hot girl. She's still a hot woman. Or I know that out there are some fans of Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt, you can say he is, yeah, he's hot. Or that he was in the past, he was hot. So now you know, sorry, now you know how to talk about like pretty people, right? Okay, and let's finish this text. Please repeat after me. Have a meal at good enough to eat. Go ahead. Hmm. And some of you may be wondering, maybe asking, like, what's a meal? A meal. Meal is basically the breakfast, the lunch, or the dinner. Those any of those three, one of the three could be a meal. When you sit down, okay, this meal is important because it's my only meal of the day. I don't have any other meal. So it's one meal, one meal. Or, hey, how many meals do you have a day? I have seven because I go to the gym and I need to build some muscle. Oh, okay. That's very intense. But that's a meal. It's a thing. And is the time you have your food? Yes, Adriana. It's more than the time is the the food. You could say that meal and food are equivalent, are synonyms, but there's a difference. That's a good question, Adriana, because food, uh, you can talk about food when you are saying things like vegetables or milk or potatoes or meat or beef, chicken, poultry, fish. That's food. The meal is when you cook it and you sit down and you're about to eat it. That is a meal. You see the difference? There's a slight difference, but there is a difference. Mm, what else? Okay, so I was talking about meal. And now, sometimes in English, like let's think about the meaning of this sentence. Like, have a meal at good enough to eat. Good enough to eat in this text, you can see that it has capital letters, capital G, capital E, and capital E. It is a place. It is a place. It is a restaurant. So always keep in mind on those ways of writing. If you say, hey, well, but this doesn't make sense, this doesn't make sense. Well, it's because maybe it's a place, or maybe it is a person, or maybe it's the name of a city. You see? So be careful. Be careful. Look out those capital letters, and maybe it's a place, a city, or or yeah, a country, whatever. Okay, here we go. Good Enough to Eat on 83rd Street is a great traditional American restaurant serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Your turn, friends. Very well. Very well. Let's start with the pronunciation of enough. 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 You see the term, the last portion of the word is like an f sound. So enough. And enough, it's like, let's suppose that you go to um you go to a restaurant and you are having a meal, your favorite meal, and you say, you know what, it's too much, it's too much, I don't want to eat more, it's too much, it's enough. Like, no more, no more. It's enough. It's enough. You see? Enough. In Spanish, suficiente. Keep in mind the pronunciation of this one. 83rd. One more time, please. 83rd. Yeah, it's an ordinal number, like the first, the second, and the third. And in New York, or basically in the United States, you have that way of talking about the streets. Like, you can say the first street, the second street, or in this case, the 83rd Street. And check this out: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. What are those? Adriana, what are those? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner? What's the name of those? Meals. Yes. Very well. Good job, Adriana. Great job. Let's finish the text. It has salads, sandwiches, steak, and more. Go ahead. Good, good. Be careful with the pronunciation of this word. Okay? Repeat after me. Steak. Steak. What's steak? It's beef. It's like a big piece of beef, and you just put it in a pan and you fry it side by side, and then you enjoy it. It's a steak. If you're a vegetarian, my friend, you hate steaks. You don't do that. But if you're not a vegetarian, nom, 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 you're gonna eat a lot of steaks. I love meat, and I love steaks. I cook really well steaks. I cook really, really good steaks. So, my friends, this is the class for today. There you have it. Your homework, number one, is to subscribe to my channel, my YouTube channel. Number two, to follow me on Instagram. And number three is to read this text out loud. Remember, that's very important. That's a vital piece of your practice. I hope all of you are having a great Friday, and I hope all of you practice a lot of English. All right? Remember, practice makes perfect, and you can watch the other videos that we have with different levels of practice. And I'll see you around. I'll see you next week. Have a great night and take care.